MVP front runner. If anybody else got to say something different about that, then come see me. I'm right here in Bmore outside the bank. If you got an issue with that, come see me. I'm about that. Big truss. Woo woo.
Creme brulee.
In the flesh. Yes, sir. Big truss.
What it do, baby?
Welcome back to another edition of the number one podcast in your headphones, Creme brulee. I'm your host, Premal. And before we get started, let's hear from our sponsor, not named Mark Ingram. You already know, you number one podcast listeners, you know what you've tuned into. Creme brulee, the spiciest podcast in your headphones, the number one podcast in your headphones. Of course, I'm your host, Premal of the Play Call Network. You know how we do. Let's get started with the FM or not. As we've been doing since they've come out, the next batch of college football playoff rankings are out, and there are very little changes. The only changes in the top 10 are 8, 9, and 10 shuffled. With Minnesota's loss at Iowa, they dropped from 8 to 10. And the teams that were previously behind them, Penn State and Oklahoma, move up a spot. So Penn State is now number 8, Oklahoma is number 9, and Minnesota is number 10. The Big Ten has the most teams in the college football playoff rankings in the top 25. You love to hear it. Is Alabama done without Tua? Of course, we know Tua Tagovailoa had a season-ending injury and had surgery on his hip. Does this mean that Bama's chances are done? Does it open the door for Georgia, more specifically Oklahoma, and especially Oregon out of the Pac-12, who's looked very good since losing earlier in the season? Of course, worth noting, Penn State can be right back in the conversation with a win in Columbus and subsequent trip to Indianapolis for the Big Ten Championship. Their path is in their hands. They are in control of their own destiny. Obviously, you only have a handful of teams that are like that. LSU, Ohio State, Penn State, as we just mentioned, even Minnesota is in control of their own destiny. Clemson, obviously, if they win out. And, of course, Georgia. Georgia's already clinched their half of the SEC. If they go in and win the SEC championship, they will obviously be forgiven. They've already been forgiven for their atrocious loss at home to South Carolina, but a SEC championship would definitely warrant them getting into the college football playoff. So you're looking at around 6 teams that can control their own destiny. Number 1, LSU. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Clemson. Number 4, Georgia. Number 8, Penn State. And number 10, Minnesota. Everyone else needs a little help. Of course, this week, we have to talk about some low-ranked Power 5s that were previously unbeaten, both losing this past weekend. Minnesota lost at Iowa, like we mentioned. Buckeye fans, unfortunately, can relate to your pain. And Baylor blew a 25-point lead and lost to Oklahoma this past weekend. Overall, with the playoff rankings this week, I mean, as a Buckeye fan, I have to be a yeah fan. Things are status quo. If you're not and you are one of those teams that can't control their own destiny, you wanted some shakeups of more magnitude, but I guess you'll just have to wait your turn here. So I'm somewhere in between, but I'm a yeah fan overall to the rankings. I think everyone's where they need to be. And nothing changes from my opinions. Previously, I don't think Georgia should be number 4, but I can't keep throwing a nod of that. At least they've kept their wrong opinion consistent. All right, next topic on Yeah Fam or Not is the Astros sign stealing investigation. So, according to, before I give you my take here, I want to give a little background. So, according to a report first published by The Athletic, a high-ranking Houston Astros official asked scouts to spy on opponents' dugouts leading up to the 2017 postseason, hoping to steal signs and suggesting the potential use of cameras to do so. This recent report was the first indication of Astros front office involvement in potential cheating and further reveals the scope of Houston's attempts to gain advantages through intercepted signs. Major League Baseball is investigating the organization's methods of sign stealing after former pitcher Mike Fears told The Athletic that during their World Series winning 2017 season, the team used live video feed to steal catcher signs and then transmit them to hitters by banging on a trash can. It's worth noting that new rules were put into place before the 2019 season to curb technology use. However, sign stealing has been part of baseball for a long time. It's supported by players and scouts alike. And particularly runners on second base eyeing the catcher's signals and relaying them to the batter. The use of cameras to do so is regarded as unethical by many. And due to those recent rule changes, it's illegal by the MLB rules. The level of punishment is obviously going to depend on Commissioner Rob Manfred's interpretation of that rule against using technology for stealing signs. So this isn't anywhere near over. The MLB is investigating the Astros and a lot of other teams, but with all that background, in case you've been hiding and don't know what's going on, I mean, first of all, to Mike Fears.
Listen, you son of a bitch. What the fuck's your problem?
I mean, Mike, was that championship ring you had nothing to do with earning but still got not enough for you? What kind of dumbass snitch behavior is this? Who hurt you bad enough that you needed to spill the beans in this particular way? Yes, I know this is not anywhere near the point, but you know what show you've tuned into. Who the fuck snitches like this?
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
Your ass didn't make a postseason roster, still got a ring, and you still want to snitch on former teammates? That's going to go over well. Right now, it sucks being an Astros fan. Having to hear that your team is being called cheaters and knowing the fact that they're good has put a microscope on them is probably how the New England Tom Brady has felt during Deflategate. Nah, wait. We ain't trying to relate to those spoiled-ass fans. Sound it.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
This one stings because there's no doubt in my mind everyone steals signs. Stealing signs is part of baseball. Everyone does it. I mean, we were taught to do it in high school. What sucks is that it doesn't even matter if everyone does it. The Astros are facing the heat right now, and they should. It sucks as a fan. It won't get any easier. I mean, there should be a fine. There should be docked draft picks because stealing signs on the base path is one thing, but using cameras is so over the top and against not only moral rules, but the official written rules as well. But give me a break with this vacating wins and trophies bullshit. All the technology in the world and all the stolen signs in the world still can't make that Astros lineup crush the shit out of your sorry-ass team's best pitchers.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
And while we're at it, let's keep it all the way spicy right now. I already said the piece about, yeah, it fucking sucks. But you know what? Let's get into the petty. That's what you tuned into, isn't it? This shit screams of Yankee conspiracy. I mean, look at the people that are going to be looked at. This was from information various pieces. So on-field personnel who have drawn interest of the league include Red Sox manager and former Astros bench coach Alex Cora, New York Mets manager and former Astros DH Carlos Beltran, Astros manager AJ Hinch, and Red Sox bullpen coach Craig Bjornson, who had the same job with Houston in 2017. Before you sour plenty of wins having asses push for crazy punishments, this is already at your doorstep, especially you, Boston. And I'll be damned if they don't try to find someone for y'all's 27 rings, Yankee faithful. So let's keep that same energy when it comes knocking at your door. Oh, I'm going to remember everybody talking that shit.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
Oh, I'm going to remember. So in summary, this drama with sign stealing, I'm a nod to this. Yes, they should be penalized. Nod to how far people are taking it. And nod to the simple fact that this screams like everybody is doing it. So, you know what? Yeah, we're petty on this show. Nah. And I can't wait till it comes to all these other teams and all these other fans talking so much shit.
Enjoy this moment, and have fun with it.
I'm going to keep drinking my haterade out of this Astros 2017 World Series glass.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
You probably hate to hear it. Anyway, last but not least out of the topics of Yeah Fam or Nah, Colin Kaepernick's league-hosted workout being moved last second. I mean, yeah fam to him moving it, first of all. I get it all. He's likely not going to work for the NFL. He moved a workout, had only 8 teams show up to the new location. I mean, never mind the fact that the location was on the way to the airport. I mean, he talked in front of the press, all that. I get it. Initially, it looked like the league was doing something nice. But then, you look into it further, beyond the low-hanging fruit of why someone would jeopardize their shot at employment with the employer giving him a chance. And here's that little further. This is an excerpt from Yahoo NFL reporter Charles Robinson's piece. Quote, in the middle of the supposedly generous and unprecedented offer to give Kaepernick a league-hosted workout, the lawyer slipped clauses into a liability release that would create a foothold to fight against litigation under state and federal employment laws. I believe this is the answer to why the NFL put this workout together. It created multiple outcomes that could all be weaponized against the league's Kaepernick problem. If Kaepernick said no to the workout or pulled out for any reason, the NFL could say, we tried. And there would be more than a few media personalities ready to carry that water. And if by some masterstroke Kaepernick's lawyer said yes to the waiver, the NFL would have signed a document guarding against the lawsuit stemming from state and federal employment laws. The workout was the Trojan horse. The NFL's weapon was the waiver planted inside it. And a sweeping victory was one Kaepernick signature away. End quote. This was initially a safe face move by the NFL. People want to fault Cap for not signing whatever waiver they had or playing by their strict rules for this tryout. But the bottom line is this is such a half measure. Here, we'll give you a tryout, but you can't pick anything about it. Not the receivers. And we'll hold it a day before our teams have to play games, so no one super important on any franchise can attend. Oh, we'll have cameras, but not your cameras. So, hey, if you make a bad throw, we can just show that part. So some initial sources said that the waiver was simply a liability waiver, just absolving the Falcons and the NFL from any risk if Kaepernick was to get hurt during the workout. But that piece by Charles Robinson screams the opposite. This waiver had broad enough language that the NFL would have gotten out of any lawsuits. And beyond even this piece, which is damning for the NFL, I tend to believe the side of Cap versus the side that's wasted 3 years of a quarterback's prime by blackballing him. So in summary, I'm a yeah fan of the workout being moved. I realize this probably isn't going to end well for Kaepernick. He had to do what he had to do in front of the press and all that and make the statements he had to. But it just fucking sucks. Because the NFL had this half measure trying to make it look like they were some kind of saints when they couldn't be further from it. I mean, the closest the NFL will get to saints is being those referees that missed that egregious, obvious defensive pass interference in the NFC Championship game. It's about the closest they'll get to it. Alright, let's move on to likey, no likey, hate it. My likey for the week is Chase Young's suspension being reduced to 2 games. Hallelujah. He's back for the big showdown versus Penn State this week. If there's 2 games you wanted him to miss, those are the 2 you wanted. Maryland and Rutgers. And now we get Chase Young back and hopefully he wreaks havoc. He had an Instagram post outlining that the chip on his shoulder is even bigger, and you absolutely love to see it. Just when you thought you couldn't get even more pumped up,
What it do, baby?
Chase Young delivers. My no likey goes to this fucking Browns Steelers melee at the end of last week's Thursday night football game. The Browns can't even win when they win. Myles Garrett ripped off Mason Rudolph's helmet after Rudolph tried unsuccessfully to do the same thing. Got Garrett, after he ripped off Rudolph's helmet, hit him with his own helmet. Then, to get back at him, Steelers lineman Pouncey tried to curb stomp Garrett. He was kicking him in the helmet. Worth noting, the weakest of the bunch, Larry Ogunjobi, had the lamest shit ever. He pushed a Mason Rudolph just standing along the side in the back. Then when asked about it, said he was going to stick up for his teammate. Mind you, Ogunjobi is a defensive lineman. He pushed Mason Rudolph, who's not wearing a helmet, from behind, claimed he was sticking up for his teammate. Said teammate was at that point in time being kicked in the helmet by the opposing team. And this is how he chose to stick up for him. Remind me never to have Larry Ogunjobi on my side. I don't want to get made fun of, 1, and 2, I don't want to be associated with that weak-ass shit.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Myles Garrett is trying to appeal this indefinite suspension. A lot of people think it's going to last throughout this season, which would be 6 games. Pouncey got 3 games for his part. Ogunjobi got 1 game. And Mason Rudolph got 0. I am not sure how. I'm a no likey to this. I agree with the Myles Garrett suspension, but the reason it's not a hate it is because I agree with that. Otherwise, it would be a hate it because I don't agree that Rudolph had no part in this. Yes, this melee started with Myles Garrett tackling and roughing the passer way too long on Mason Rudolph, but Mason Rudolph tried to rip off Garrett's helmet. He should not be free from discipline. And then how does Ogunjobi's punk ass only get 1 game? He should get more just for being a bitch. And I hate it. You know how it goes every week. I have to talk about the Cowboys. I'm sorry. But hopefully it at least entertains you guys. Could you imagine calling yourself the Hot Boys while Jeff Driscoll and the 7th round pick that you cut, Bo Scarborough, carves you up? The juggernaut that is the backups on the Detroit Lions carve up your so-called defense who calls themselves the fucking Hot Boys. Could you even fucking imagine or fathom that? That pretty much leads into our next section. You know the hate it always fuels the fire that is you played yourself, so Joker, hit it.
And here we go.
First up, you played yourself. Mike Trout named AL MVP. I mean, are we fucking kidding me here? He got 17 of the first place votes to my MVP, the real AL MVP, Alex Bregman's 13. Mike Trout's MVP this season is about as real as Kevin Durant's rings are, which is not real at all. Mike Trout missed the last 22 days of the season with injury. I mean, what are we doing here? Oh, worth noting, Trout has as many MVP trophies as postseason games he's played. He has played 3 fucking postseason games in his entire career. I mean, I get that this is a regular season award, but if your regular season isn't helping your team make the playoffs, how valuable are we really fucking talking here? I mean, Kawhi Leonard and Mike Trout teach us an important lesson. If you want to be regarded as the best, just don't even worry about showing up for work all the time. You'll still get awards and accolades. You'll still get called the best player in your respective league. Just take days off. That's the lesson here, kids. Fucking have your dumbass, fake-ass MVP, Trout.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
Next, you played yourself goes to Nick Saban, head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. So, his quarterback, an already injured and banged up Tua Tagovailoa, was playing in their game while they were up 35-7 against Ole Miss. So Tua was tackled on a hard hit, was not able to get up and put weight on his own leg. He dislocated his hip and had season-ending surgery. So a lot of people will say, oh, well, you have the benefit of hindsight. You know, he didn't know he was going to get injured. You're damn right I have the benefit of hindsight. That's why I'm behind a fucking microphone.
What it do, baby?
But the fact of the matter is, I'm not putting in right now my injury-prone quarterback in a meaningless fucking football game. The bottom feeders of our conference, that even though the play wasn't dirty, they don't have my quarterback's best interest in mind. They're not going to let up on hitting him. Nick Saban claimed that he was going to take out Tua that very drive before that drive, but that they wanted Tua to get some 2-minute draw offense. So this 2-minute draw against this JV team that is Ole Miss is really going to help him this season. You don't think it'd just be better off doing that in practice with Alabama's defense, in one where they aren't trying to crush you? Again, I can't emphasize that the hit wasn't dirty, but as an opponent, I'm not trying to be nice to the opposing quarterback. But if I'm Alabama's defense, I'm not going to touch Tua. He's too valuable to us. Why wouldn't you just work on your 2-minute drill there?
Congratulations, you played yourself.
35-7 hanging at half. Is that 2-minute drill going to prove anything? The question will be whether Alabama's college football playoff chances diminish unless Mac Jones, backup quarterback, does his best Cardale Jones impression. Already, Alabama's on the outside looking in. They are ranked number 5 in the college football playoff rankings and do not have control of their own destiny, especially in the SEC. Also, a major question is whether or not Tua will declare for the NFL draft still. Maybe he comes back to school. Maybe he waits to declare while recovering to see how it goes. The main thing is this hip injury reportedly is a little less accurate on the recovery time because the nature of where the injury is, the recovery varies for each person. Hopefully the report that Tua took out an insurance plan to prevent from dropping in the draft is true, so that likely he will declare for the draft and not be impacted financially. Although this might be worst case scenario and you played yourself for us because the strange feeling Tua is going to end up on the New England Tom Brady-ites.
Enjoy this moment, and have fun with it.
In summary, Nick, you played yourself, and it sucks. It's at the expense of Tua Tagovailoa. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery and it does not impact the man's money. Sticking in the SEC, you played yourself goes to the conference as a whole. We've reached it. The SEC's Community Service Week, where they play high school JV teams. Let me run down a list here. Western Carolina, Samford, East Tennessee State, Abilene Christian. These are all opponents of SEC football teams this coming week. The ones listed are opponents of Alabama, Auburn, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State, respectively. I mean, this is kind of like what the Buckeyes are doing, except not at all like it. And last but not least, these guys keep fucking doing it. These NFL referees are really still out here playing themselves. So, in the first quarter of a 0-0 ball game, the Houston Texans were driving into Ravens territory. On a 4th and 2, Deshaun Watson scrambled, threw a deep pass to DeAndre Hopkins in the end zone. It was a good pass. But Hopkins couldn't come down with the pass for a touchdown because Ravens cornerback Marlon Humphrey, I believe he was famous for choking Odell Beckham Jr. on the field to not have it be called. But Marlon Humphrey hugged and tackled DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, as clear as possible defensive pass interference. But none of the officials on the field called it. So then Texans coach Bill O'Brien challenged the ruling. And then, of course, all of those challenges go to NFL Senior VP of Officiating, Al Riveron, to decide. Well, Al decided that the no call would stand somehow.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
So instead of the Texans getting the ball at the 1-yard line, it was Ravens' ball thanks to a turnover on downs. After the game, DeAndre Hopkins tweeted the following: "As a leader in the NFL, we need someone new in New York deciding calls." End tweet. What's a real shame is that Hopkins is going to get fined, while Riveron gets nothing for doing a shit job. Hell, if Al Riveron was in the MLB, he'd be crowned MVP. I mean, he's clearly missing work, so he just has to be the fucking best, right?
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
Fuck out of here. What's the point of this fucking rule? What are we doing here? If it's not fucking obvious in your face, I thought that was the whole point of this. That Saints-Rams game, the no pass interference call, this is exactly the scenario it was put into place for. Why even have this? Let's get rid of the rule if we're not going to change a goddamn thing. Now it's time for Who You Got and What Are You Feeling. Of course, got to recap my Who You Gots from the previous episode. Made a few football picks here. The first one was Oklahoma at Baylor. Oklahoma was a 10-point favorite last week. I picked Oklahoma. I mean, I was right, but it's not how I envisioned it going with Oklahoma's incredible comeback. So I guess I'll take it. The other college football game I picked was Georgia at Auburn. I called Auburn in an upset victory. You know, had to rep my dude, Sam Grayson.
What it do, baby?
Number one country artist in my life. Might be the only one, but that's besides the point.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
But unfortunately, Georgia won 21-14. Georgia clinched the SEC East and will be playing LSU in the SEC Championship. They do control their destiny, as I outlined earlier. I would have loved to see the Auburn upset, but it didn't happen. The game was close, but would have loved to see me go 3 for 3. The NFL game I picked was the Texans at Ravens. It was only a 4-point spread in favor of the Ravens, but they took it to the Texans. Part of it was that shit job by Al Riveron. I did go with the Ravens, but I did not envision this one being a blowout like it was. Watson didn't even score, and I am sure fantasy football owners are already aware of that. And a lot of it has to do with him being sacked 6 times. This week, I have one game each, one from college football, one from pro football. Of course, you saw it coming. Penn State heads to Columbus to face Ohio State. College game day is there. Fox's big noon kickoff is there. Everyone's watching, especially since it's JV week in the SEC. The winner decides the Big Ten East. And you know how it goes when I'm dealing with my team. I'm cautiously picking them and hoping for the best. The spread is large in favor of Ohio State, but anything goes in this Ohio State-Penn State rivalry. I just hope the Buckeyes handle business. The NFL game I'm picking is the Sunday Night Football matchup. The Green Bay Packers head to San Francisco to face the 9-1 49ers. The Packers are 8-2 currently. Both teams are in, despite their great records, are in crazy fights to stay atop their division. The Packers have the Vikings breathing down their neck, while the 49ers have the Seahawks, who just beat them for their only loss this season. Because I hate Aaron Rodgers' zebra-loving ass, I am going with the 49ers at home. For nothing else than I want to see Rodgers lose. So, hopefully, Nick Bosa gets to him and the defense holds him in check, and Jimmy G does just enough to allow the Niners to win. As for what I'm feeling, it's definitely got to be this past weekend and 2 of my best friends getting married. A beautiful weekend full of a lot of people I love, a lot of groups coming together. Shout out number one podcast listener, my bro Namdi, and my sis Judy for tying the knot officially this past weekend. Was honored to be part of it, and that's when I'm feeling a whole lot of love.
What it do, baby? Enjoy this moment.
As for my too much sense this week, you know, this wedding's got me in my feels, right? But I came to this realization that there's very few times in your life you get to tell people how you feel about them, especially in the presence of others. You know, you don't always get to make a speech at a wedding or something along those lines. So, my too much sense, the advice you didn't ask for or need, is to pick at least one person in your life, whether it's one a year, once a month, hopefully once a week, or even a couple times a week, or once a day. Tell someone in your life how you feel about them. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully you're catching my drift here. Tell someone positive in your life how you feel about them. Because, not to sound vulgar, it's not a vulgar thought, but you never really get to tell people that. And not enough times we do. So I had the great honor of speaking at that wedding. And I came to this crazy thought that, you know, I get to tell people how I feel about these 2 friends of mine in front of all their loved ones. And you don't really get that opportunity too many times. And it doesn't have to be on that grand stage. It's just sending them a text. I sent a few other friends a text that I was happy to be seeing them this weekend, because each time feels like no time's passed and it's been too long, even if it hasn't been very long since I've seen them last time. And those are rare to come by. So my too much sense for this week is to tell the positive people in your life how you feel about them. You just never know how it might make their day, and I think overall it makes you feel better, because they'll always have that. They'll always know how you feel about them. Too often we turn to each other for problems or negative things, which are great. That's what people are there for. But also, I like being able to tell someone what they mean to me in a positive sense. Just unwarranted, not looking for anything in return, but yeah, it's my too much sense for this week. And that'll do it for another edition of the number one podcast in your headphones.
The MVP front runner. If anybody else got to say something different about that, then come see me. I'm right here in Beemore outside the bank. If you got an issue with that, come see me. I'm about that. Big trust. Woo woo.
Premal bot.
In the flesh. Yes, sir. Big trust.
That's right. Don't ever get it twisted. Don't ever play yourselves. Prem brulee. You know the drill. Rate, review, subscribe. Tell a friend about this podcast. Tell them to tell another person about it. I would greatly appreciate it. My fellow Play Call Network folks will appreciate it. And you already know, check out their incredible podcast as well from the Play Call Network. And we'll talk to you next time.